Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your producer, show host, Dr. Lino Martinez, and today I would love to welcome Yara Estrada Lowe. Born and raised in East San Jose, California, she's a young Latina filmmaker. From an extremely early age, she had the passion to work in the entertainment industry, both in front of and behind the camera. This week, her first film, in which she wrote, directed, and produced, is set to release. The title of this film is Demise. It not only captivates audiences with its suspenseful narrative and compelling characters, but it also serves as a rallying cry for the representation of Latinos in film and the long overdue recognition of women directors of Latino descent. In an industry where diversity and inclusion remain crucial challenges, this gripping thriller, meticulously crafted by the talented Latina filmmaker Yara Estrada Lowe, breaks barriers and challenges preconceived notions. Welcome, Yara, to the A Little Less Fear podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Love your energy, and I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I love your energy too. Thank you so much. This is really awesome. I love hanging out and talking to other California natives. Actually, you know what? I over 200 episodes here. Maybe there's only been two or three that have been California natives that I've interviewed people from all over the world. And sometimes I feel that when I connect with people from the same area, we kind of recognize each other in some way. Do
Yeah,
you feel that way?
I do, for sure.
Especially the Latino community.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, so tell us about your journey. What brought you to where
Um,
you are at today, being a writer, director, and producer of this incredible thriller that is about to be released?
Thank you. Yes. Well, I can definitely tell you that it has taken a lifetime to be here in this moment, in this time, and finally getting to release something that I wrote, directed, and produced out into the world. I like to say everything that happened in my life led me to where I am now. Ever since I was a kid, I always had a passion for entertaining and, you know, doing all kinds of skits with my friends and my sister and my cousin. We would always we call it play pretend, when you go outside. But I think everyone around me probably thought I was just doing it for fun, but I really enjoyed storytelling and creating. So
But in a way that is for fun, though.
it is. But when I found out early on that, because early on I only wanted to act. And so one of my aunts, she had me in this Easter production at our local church in San Jose. And she told me that people can grow up and do this for a living. And my mind was blown. I was like, are you kidding? So it was then that I knew that I wanted to be in entertainment and move to Hollywood someday and do what I'm doing now.
How old were you at that time?
So my first play was, I was 4 years old, and
Oh,
I was in the
wow.
same reoccurring Easter production play in San Jose for like the next 10 years. And then, yeah, so I caught the acting bug early.
You
And
sure did.
then in the 90s, when my family started buying the camcorders to record all the family parties, I
Yeah.
got a hold of that really quick and always volunteered to record all the family parties. So then I got hooked on, oh, this is a different aspect of storytelling and filmmaking and creating. So
You know, it's interesting as you're telling me this, and I'm kind of picturing you being young, grabbing the camera, loving to do skits. It almost feels that it was natural for you.
yeah, definitely. I felt that. Yeah.
And so when you grabbed the camera for the first time and started recording, was there a spark initially, or was it kind of like, hang on a minute, I'm not sure I understand what I'm doing, or was it just instantly motivating and inspiring for you?
Yeah, it was instantly inspiring because one of my uncles, I just wanted to try and see what he was doing, right? I was like, oh, can I see that? I want to see, because I saw that he was recording everybody. And then as soon as I figured out, like, where the buttons were and where the zoom was and everything, I was like, oh, can I record the party? And he was like, no, don't you want to go play with everybody and do something else? It's work. I'll do it. And I was like, no, this is fun for me. So it was like instant for sure.
And how old were you around that time when you started
Around that
using the
time, I was
VHS
probably
camera?
10, probably 10.
And they were heavy back then too.
They were so heavy. And over the years, they got lighter and lighter.
They
So,
did. They were heavy, huge, and there was a big VHS cassette that went on the side. You had to rewind and go like record
yeah,
over things in order to edit. Oh man, I remember those cameras.
yeah.
So then you're around 8, 9, or 10, correct? When you're starting to use the camcorder. So how did it evolve from there?
So it evolved from there. I guess as I grew up, I was still living in San Jose, and then I studied theater arts at the local community college, and slowly but surely moved to Los Angeles in 2008. And after a few years of auditioning and going through the whole agents and managers route, I soon realized that number one, I wasn't getting the auditions for the lead role. Number two, the struggle was real when you're just an unknown and you're
Yeah,
tapping into this industry. And after so many years, I realized, the only way I'm going to get to do what I truly want to do is to create my own stories. And
yeah.
so not getting parts propelled me to learn how to screenwrite.
That's incredible. And
Yeah.
that's great that you're sharing this for a lot of people that are not aware of how difficult the industry is. Where, I mean, a lot of people feel that the minute they move to LA, it's going to be instant stardom, but that's not the case for a lot of some people, maybe Justin Bieber, but even he had to work really, I mean, to get to where he's at. So,
Right.
I mean, it's a real struggle. And so, but that was actually what propelled you and pushed you forward towards what was mostly even more natural for you, your natural gift of with your experience of that big camcorder or the VHS and
Yeah.
writing stories and doing your own skits and everything. But now you're an adult and now you're actually able to bring that into fruition.
Yes. And it's more rewarding as well for me because instead of going that route and participating in other films, I can create my own. And it's just the world just opened up for me when I started writing and just going into that direction a little more.
When people start to become their own authentic self and show their own authentic nature, the path starts to open up for them because that's the path that's meant for you. And so
Yes.
now the path started unfolding for you. You started following your internal passion, your that flame that was burning inside you. And so you decided to go into writing, directing, and producing right away, or writing first, and then from there on it
Writing
manifested.
first, and then after so many years, I was like, I need to learn how to make films. And so I got on every set imaginable, every indie film, every short film, friends that were making movies. And I learned a lot of different positions on a film set. And so I was a script supervisor for a while. I learned how to produce from being on this internet soap opera for a few years. It was like 150 episodes we did. And so like that was my film school. And I learned how to produce there and as well as direct for the first time. It was kind of like getting thrown into the fire. And so that was a really great learning experience. And so I learned all these positions. And then after a while, I was like, I know how to do this. I can say I know how to do this.
Did you face any struggles with your family? Were they ever like, hey, you know what kind of, how many Latina women go into this industry, or what do you think you're doing? Are you sure you want to do this? Did you ever go through anything like that with your family?
With my family, they were very supportive when I moved to LA, and everyone knew the reasons why. And it was more so, I guess, after so many years, when you keep talking about something, it's not that anyone said anything to me, but you can kind of see like I started sounding like a broken record. Like, I'm going to produce this movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. It's like, so they were always very supportive and they still are. It was just, you know what I mean? After it takes so long and finally I can say, hey guys, I actually did it. So
I think that's incredible. And that's wonderful that your family supported you along the way.
you
And most
did.
likely they saw this fire that was burning inside you since you were that little kid, at 4 years old, doing your Easter plays. They're like, hey, you
Yes.
know what? This is what Yara was born to do. So high five to her. We love her. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
for sure.
So, as far as being a Latina in the industry, did you face any challenges in the actual industry itself once you actually stepped foot into it?
Yes. I soon realized that, well, a lot of people didn't take me seriously because I didn't have anything under my belt. It's kind of like I wrote for years and it took all these years for this to happen with Demise, right? So it was difficult because no one wanted to take a chance on me. And besides that, I don't look like a writer director that people usually think of when they think of a writer director, what they look like. And so I realized that I wasn't being taken seriously because of the way that I looked. How do I say this? Girly and feminine. And
I was just gonna ask you, what's the stereotype? I guess I'm not
yeah,
fully
it's
aware.
like
What's
usually when somebody is girly and feminine, it's kind of like opposite than, uh, doing a man's job, which is
because you're
mainly.
wearing a baseball cap and like a sweatshirt and
Yeah, it's like
sneakers?
nails, like all these
I
things
see.
don't signify a power player,
I
leader,
see.
boss,
Yeah.
So that was definitely a challenge. And so now I guess they can see the movie and it'll speak for itself.
How did you break through that challenge? Or what motivated you to keep going despite that challenge?
I guess the endurance of not giving up and going for it anyways, and believing in yourself, because everyone's going to come along at some point in everybody's life to tell them, oh, you can't do this, or you don't have that, or you don't have this credit, or, it's just a lot of
Yeah,
noise. And you have to really dig deep down inside and just put that noise aside and focus on the path ahead. So,
exactly. Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah.
I always think it's interesting when people say stuff like that, like, "Oh, there's no credit to your name." Well, how's someone supposed to get credit to their name? It's got to
Exactly.
be. I mean, it starts somewhere, right?
Yes.
Was there ever a doubt in your career of you like switching careers, or did you just say, "No, this is I'm pretty darn confident. This is exactly what I want to do and where I want to go."
Yes, I never wanted to switch careers because I had invested so much of my life into doing this. And at times, people that I know would ask me, like, is there something else you want to do? Or you're
Yeah,
good at other things too. Why don't you try that? And I would hate when that would happen because I'm thinking, hey, this is our one life and I'm gonna roll the dice, honey. You don't know who I
yeah. I love that. Yeah, you're rolling the dice to your own life. I love this. This is awesome.
am.
And so when you finally moved to LA and you started to write, produce, and direct, when did you get the idea of writing the current movie that's about to come out, Demise?
Yeah, so I wrote Demise in the summer of 2020, and it was during the pandemic, the first year
Yeah.
of the pandemic. And so I normally like to write lighter stuff like romance, screenplays or rom-coms. And so I just wasn't feeling comedic, or, everyone was in the feeling of what was happening in the world. So
Yeah.
I just was like, I'm going to write a twisted love triangle that's a little darker. So I wrote for 3 months straight the entire summer. And it took 3 months to get my first draft. And I finished Demise September 1st, 2020.
It's I mean, when I watch the previews or when I'm on your Instagram looking at clips of the movie, which I can't wait to see it, by the way. I've got a lot of thoughts. I mean, the first thing that I was thinking is what motivated you to write such a thriller?
Yeah. So growing up, me and my sisters, well, my sister, and my brother, we would get into my mom's stash of films that she would buy, like the VHS tapes of like Fatal Attraction.
Oh my gosh, I
Fatal.
remember that movie.
Yes.
Was
And
it the one with Sharon Stone, Fatal Attraction? No,
Basic
no,
Instinct.
that was Basic Instinct. Fatal
Yes.
Attraction had, if I can remember, oh, what
Glenn Close and
Glenn
Michael.
Close. Yeah. Oh my
And
goodness, that's
so
right.
we were pretty young, and we weren't supposed to be watching these kind of
I
movies.
know.
So we
I
were
wasn't
like
allowed to either, but
freaking
I
out
sure did.
about. So ever since then, I loved these movies. Like I love the genre, and when I was writing Demise, I was like, I want to write an updated modern version of this genre because you don't see it too often anymore, but it looks like it's making a comeback.
Yeah, right. Oh my
And
God.
so that definitely inspired me to write Demise and have that style of storyline.
It's interesting you say that because I mean, when I think back, that seemed to be a kind of like a common theme with a lot of those movies back then. They were thrillers. I mean, I was maybe 13, 12, 13, and I'd watch them biting my nails, you know? I'm like, what's gonna happen? And I thought it was interesting that they combined so much sensuality with love and at the same time betrayal.
Yeah.
And I mean it's fascinating. It really hooks you in and it keeps you watching and wanting to find out why or what's next
Mhm.
or how far will this character go.
Yeah.
And then so when you started to write Demise, are you allowed to tell us a little bit about the movie?
A little bit. I'll just not mention any spoilers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
What were you asking? Sorry.
Yeah, tell us just a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Demise is a messy love triangle thriller surrounding around three characters. Our leading man is Caleb, played by Carlo Mendez. I like to call it our femme fatale lead, Celine, played by Liz Fenning, and the other leading actress character, Fiona slash Fabiola, played by Crystal Hernandez. She plays twin characters in the film. And so, yeah, it's a steamy love affair filled with obsession, betrayal, and the whole nine. So,
I love it. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that quick synopsis. So this movie Demise, when you began writing it, how did you develop the characters?
yeah, so it was important to me that I developed three-dimensional characters. And so I didn't want this to be a film about just an affair and cheating because that gets boring and it's just one note. And to draw that one problem out for a whole film, there's just nowhere to go from there. And so when I was developing the three lead characters, I made sure that I wanted all of them to be fearless and yet selfish at the same time, because I thought if I have those two contrasting attributes for each character, it would drive the storyline and the plot because it would be their fearless decision making and actions that would cause the story to do this, and their selfishness for what they want, it would cause the movie to do this. So then combining those two things for each of the characters really created this dynamic where you're not sure who you're rooting for at any given moment because of this tug and pull.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How did you get that idea? Was that basically your own thoughts, your own energy, your own like centralizing
Yeah.
imagination, or was it based on observing what other characters are doing in other same type movies in the same genre?
A little bit of both. I feel like I thought of this on my own. I taught myself how to screenwrite, so it's not like I kind of use a lot of other things, as far as references. But in the same light, this genre gives into that as well because the lead characters in this, usually it's a love triangle or a battle, a romantic relationship battle. Somebody's making wrong decisions, so
Sure.
so I kind of made sure to have those elements involved as well.
So in finding these elements such as wrong decisions or the triangle going on, did you take any of these stories from anybody around you, anybody you knew, or just any
No,
stories you had heard through the grapevine?
not at all. And the funny thing I was thinking after I finished, I was like, people are gonna think like this is about me in some way, or like,
Oh,
I'm like, oh God, no. Not at all. It's fiction. So
It's all fiction. Okay, got it. It's interesting though. It may be fiction to you in your life, but in someone's life, something like this can be real.
yes, yes.
And
Hmm.
and so creating something that's fiction yet can be real in someone's life. Did you look at kind of like adding any more elements as far as the realness of how it could be in people's families? Did you look at all angles, as not just character, but also outside the character and the background of the character and how this could affect everyone around them?
Yeah, and that's why one of my early log lines of the film was one lie destroys the lives of many, while one
Yeah,
obsession leads to the demise of you know, leads to the demise of a fashion star. So it's kind of like all of these decisions that these characters make affect their families and everyone around them in this story.
that's really incredible. And so, hey, so there's a lot of steamy scenes in this movie.
There are, yeah. I mean, you kind of have to have that if this is a love triangle. So, for sure.
I'm kind of curious because when you brought up Fatal Attraction and Basic Instinct. I mean, I remember back then, and to this day, I'll probably fast forward to the scenes, because I mean those scenes, they're pretty hot and they
Yeah.
kind of and they're creative. A lot of the times, these are some creative, sensual scenes that I'd never even thought of doing myself or seen in a movie before.
Uh-huh.
When you were creating these sensual, is that the right word to use? Sexual,
Yeah.
sensual, steamy, sexy scenes.
Yes.
Were these images that you got yourself or from other movies, or just kind of feeling into the characters and seeing how it would all flow between the two of them or the three of them if something like this were to be real?
Yeah. So, I guess what helped for the setting of all this when we actually saw the locations, and then, I kind of, so when you're going on a location scout and you lock down, like, say, the house of one of the characters, and say there's like a couple sex scenes, you kind of have to establish where those are in the house and then go from there. Because sometimes when you write something on the script, it's might not always pan out the way you're thinking initially until you get that real location and you're like, this is it.
Yeah,
Oh, I can change things now. Or, oh, let's do this instead. And you kind of
yeah,
like get the juices flowing because you're like, I can just play around here now. So that's kind of like how that panned out.
that's incredible. While you're saying that, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes and just imagining the lights and the mood and the colors. And even when it gets quiet on the set, sometimes there's like that initial butterfly feeling where you're like, where you get that stillness. And when you get that stillness is when it feels so real at that point.
Yeah.
Did you get that real feeling when there was some of the like sexuality going on in the film?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I mean, doing these scenes for your directorial debut is very challenging, right? Because you want to
I
make
imagine.
sure everyone's comfortable, but you
Yeah.
want to execute it right.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
there's so many layers to pulling this off,
Yeah.
professionally
Right.
and, film wise. So a lot of discussions and talks were, made prior to shooting, and everyone was crystal clear on what they were doing and what everything was going to look like.
Did you
Yeah.
face any challenges in the midst of all this
Just filming.
of filming, of creating this entire film?
Oh yeah, there was so many challenges. There always is. And when they come, they're unexpected and they hit you like a ton of bricks. And then the producer and me and the rest of my team just kicks into gear, and you're constantly putting out fires and problem solving, and you're fighting the reality of that day to get your shots and to finish your day. And so every day of filming is definitely challenging, but rewarding and fun at the same time.
What's one challenge that you faced?
One challenge that I faced. Oh man, there's so many. Yes, I have a good story. So another challenge of doing this film was that I was working with children actors, like a couple of child actors. And so the first, we actually worked with a baby on set. And so, you have to go through all the legal stuff with hiring an on-set studio teacher and do all the legal stuff to get permission for you to hire an infant or child actor. And so, funny story, we submitted all the paperwork, and so like the day of, our studio teacher was looking at, because you make an age for like the infant, right? And I'm not great with like how old the baby is if I look at it. So on the script it was like the baby 6 months, right? But
Yeah.
then the real baby actor, he was like 4 months. But to me, that's like, I don't know, I don't think about that stuff. It's just like,
Right.
that works, let's shoot
Yeah.
it. So when we arrived on set, this is like day 2, by the way, our studio teacher brought it to our attention that we needed by law a studio nurse for any child under 6 months.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was like, what? And so we're like, we're shooting like soon. What do you mean I need a nurse? We're
Yeah,
like,
how do you get a nurse so fast? What are you supposed to do at that moment?
I know. And so I don't know, something happened like with communication, because she didn't realize the baby was going to be younger. And so I didn't know that was like a problem. I don't know. So, anyways, we all like were just all hands on deck. My producing partner, Annabelle, calls one of our executive producers and our UPM, and they're like, we need a nurse down here and we need her now and fast, like in an
Oh my
hour.
God.
And so everyone's just going crazy, right? And the thing of it was too, it was the parents of the infant, they were so lovely and so nice. And they were just kind of like, we don't care, go ahead. Like, we don't need the nurse. The mom was like, I'm here, don't worry. And then I was like, no, this is by
No,
law.
you have to do it legally. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was by like, it was just a miracle that we found a studio nurse to come down in an hour, and we got all of our shots that we needed
Oh
for that
my
infant.
goodness.
It was
Within an
just,
hour?
huh?
Within an hour, you found a studio
Yes.
nurse?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
There's so many stories like that, and it was just a
Oh,
miracle. And I mean, I think our UPM found somebody in his Rolodex, like, oh, I got someone, and she's coming. And so we thankfully got to shoot all that we needed with that infant, because you're on a time clock, and so they're not allowed to shoot past a certain amount of time.
oh my
So
goodness. Wow.
yeah.
That is a big challenge. It's a huge challenge, an unexpected challenge, unforeseen challenge.
Because there's so many other things on the line, right? Like your
Yeah,
location and the schedule, and you can't come back to do this kind of thing. And it just, wow. Yeah. So we
that is a wow.
overcame that.
Well, the cool thing is, at least now you know if you use a child later or be an infant later, at least 6 months, or if not, you need a
You learn
studio
these
nurse.
random
Yeah,
things as you go.
learn on the set while you're recording. Holy moly, that's incredible. And that's
Yes.
quick, and that's awesome that you had a team to help you out and back you up right away.
Yes. Our team was incredible. And without that solid team, I mean, it's necessary, because it's already hard enough, when you have that great team behind you, you're able to troubleshoot and handle random situations. So
Yeah, wow. Thanks for sharing that. That incredible story. So, how long was the set? How long were you on the set for? How long did the entire production take?
yeah, so on set we had a 17-day shoot, and then only one pickup day like 6 months later. And so besides that,
Oh,
we spent around 4 to 5 months in pre-production, and then almost 1 year in post-production.
so all together about a year.
So altogether, so we shot uh, April of 2020, and then now the film's being released next week. So 3 years all in, but that's
All together.
post and delivery and finding a distributor and all that stuff.
Wow, that's a lot of work, Yara. That's a lot of work
Oh yeah.
and exciting too
Yes,
to
very.
tie it all up.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of tying it all up, what does it feel like for you to see your characters come to life? I mean, you wrote this, you directed it, you brought your characters, you had them, you wanted to make sure they're portraying the characters true to how you wrote it. You want it to be seen and felt the way you saw it and felt it when you wrote it. And you want people as much as possible to see it in your eyes and to feel it the way that you felt it. And now it's in full production, full force, about to be released. I can imagine you've seen the film already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what does it feel like for you? Let's talk about the first time you watched it all. What did it feel like for you to finally see it all come together?
Yeah. So I think there's two parts to this. The feeling that I had when I was there directing and then seeing it live, while we're in the
Yeah.
works of everything. That was a great experience. And, it's sort of like you're just running on adrenaline. And
Yeah.
so that was, yeah, that was pretty surreal. But then putting it together and then seeing the whole film just art. So the first round of putting this together, our editor just put all the scenes in order, full scenes without editing. And so the first time I saw that, I was just like, wow, that's what we did. It was just like a weird feeling. I don't know how to describe it.
Was it emotional at any point?
Yeah, at times it does get emotional because especially if like I dreamt about this my entire life and
Yeah.
this moment's finally here and all of the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into this and never
Right.
giving up and all of those things like add up, right? Over decades. And then so when something comes to fruition like this, it's kind of like there's so many emotions involved and yet at the same time you're trying to like make sure it all came out perfectly without it being rushed or hindered by any outsiders and stuff. So yeah.
I'm wondering as you're saying all this, because one of the words you mentioned earlier was adrenaline, the adrenaline rush that you get when you're writing it and filming it and producing it and doing
Yeah.
this and get up early and get this and this challenge over here going on. So you're kind of like on the go and you're always troubleshooting, just making sure you're catching things fast and you're getting the smallest little detail. But when you actually finally get to watch your own film and sit there and relax without your heart rate up, without the stress levels up, and just kind of just chill there. And, I'm gonna have some popcorn with this and maybe some Reese's Pieces while I'm at it. Like, have you given yourself that time yet to actually chill, sit down, relax, and actually really watch the film?
Yeah, I did. Last summer we had a cast and crew screening. And so we got to show our cast and crew the movie that we shot. This was before we found a distributor. And so it was definitely a night to celebrate and to take that deep breath, like
Yeah.
this part of the
Wow.
phase is
Yeah.
done. I had a lot of work to do still at that time and, doing all the stuff that needed to be done to find a distributor. But the movie itself was finished. And so it was definitely a sigh of relief and enjoyable to watch.
Oh, I can imagine it is. And were you at all, or are you critical with yourself with any of the scenes afterwards? Like, man, I could have done this better. Or are you actually able to be like, hell yeah, I did this. This is my film, and it feels great to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Like, I think all directors feel like it's never done. Like, they'll always want to keep tweaking and toying with it. Like, it's like a toy. It's like, no, wait, I can do this.
Well,
I can paint it like this now. Or how about outline this? So it's like, there are little times where I feel like, ooh, or, but overall, I let it be and I'm happy with the end result. So,
excellent. Well, I'm excited to watch it. I can't wait to watch it this week coming up.
yay.
So let me see here. I know that I had another question. Yes. So before we conclude and wrap this up, any advice that you can give to striving, first to just striving writer, directors, and producers?
Yeah, I would definitely say master your craft for sure. This is a long journey and it could be, I don't know, everyone's journey is different in length depending on your goals, but master whatever skill set that you need to attain to become great. And no, there's no cap on. I mean, I feel like I'm still a student, and there's always learning,
Always.
always
Yeah.
learn more and more. And I feel like, when it comes to the arts, there's never a time where you feel like you arrived, right? Because you're always evolving and changing and learning. And so I think that's important because um, it just it helps with creativity and with drive. And so I would say definitely master your craft and find some great people that love movies and that are passionate about making them, and you will find a great team, because that is the key to success, is finding a great team. This is a team sport, and
I love this.
you know I would be nothing without everybody involved. They all brought their A game. They're all extremely professional, and they all as well love what they do, because that's important to me, to have people around you that are not jaded by the industry, but that truly have a passion for it and love it. Because if you hire someone that, if they don't love what they do, you're going to find out real quick.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you
So,
definitely will.
yeah, that would
Speaking
be.
of that, how does someone find out really quick? You mean based on their temperament or how they're showing up,
Yeah.
whether or not they're on
Yeah.
time or doing their job or showing their best self type
Yes,
thing?
exactly. Hmm.
Now, is this the same advice that you would give to a Latina that's on the rise to become also a writer, producer, and a director of her film, or would you give her a separate advice or the same?
Yes, I would add something. I would add, because sometimes a lot of people, they think like, oh, you're Latino. Okay, well, these are your stories because these are the kinds of stories that we see on TV and in the movies. And
Yeah,
it's like, be true to who you are, tell the stories that you would like to tell, and don't let people put you in the box, because as soon as they see you, they will. And you need to stand up to those people and rise up to the occasion, because everybody has a voice, and everyone has a right to use that voice. And so that's what I would say.
I love that. And that's so true because people will start to box people in, and it's really up to the individual to be like, hey, you know what? The only box is my true voice and my true inspiration and my true creativity. And this is what I have to give to the world. And this is what I'm going to show you because this is what I love. This is what I
Yes,
love about myself.
yes.
Awesome.
Mhm.
This is so great. Yara, I love this. So when does the movie come out?
So the movie comes out February 27th, and you can find it on streaming platforms like Amazon Prime, Vudu, Apple TV, or basic cable, or on demand, I should say. And that would be AT&T, Comcast, Spectrum, and DirecTV.
Excellent. Any final words?
Just thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun talking with you, and I
Oh,
love
me too.
doing. And I will see you at our premiere, and you'll watch
Yes, I
the big
can't wait to
screen.
be there. You have
Yeah.
this line to the song. I love Cristian Nodal, and it's like there's this one line to one of his songs. It's in Spanish, and it's just kind of reminded me of your movie. And he says, you speak Spanish?
Un poquito, sí.
He says, cuidado con lo que me estás pidiendo,
Mm.
que si te olvido lo hago para siempre. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah. So be careful
yeah.
what you wish for because you might just get that.
Yes. I love
That's
that.
incredible. Oh man, Yara Estrada Lowe on a Little Less Fear podcast. Demise, the movie in which she wrote, produced, and directed, is going to be coming out on February 27th. If you'd like to find out any more details, you can follow her on Instagram. What is your Instagram feed?
Yara Estrada _Lowe.
Yara Estrada underscore Low. I look forward to being at the premiere, and I will be sharing with social media all the pictures and all the details. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Yara. I look forward to seeing you in person. Have a great rest of your day now.
You as well. Bye.